I keep picturing the upper room like some bachelor pad. Matthew's in the kitchen nuking a burrito, and Judas is sitting at the bar complaining that the girls don't like him. And Peter and Stephen are sitting on the couch eating pizza and watching a ball game. And then Jesus comes in and the studio audience applauds. It's like the old sitcoms, you know. Jesus and the Super Friends.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 156. Thanks for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. I hope you had a good one. I know parts of the country were digging out from under the polar vortex, which is, I think, just a fancy way of saying snowstorm. I guess it sounds scarier to say polar vortex, so everybody freaks out about climate change. But wherever you are, I hope you're snugly warm and safe when you're listening to this. For me, it was just another week of kind of crummy, overcast, chilly weather. Spent another week of prep getting ready for the upcoming IDPA season, which gets started in March. And by prep, I mean doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. No range time, no dry fire. Well, I did dry fire. I think I picked up my gun and did like 2 minutes of dry fire one day during my lunch break. I've been fighting off a cold for 3 weeks now. I just haven't really felt like getting out and shooting. I've missed church for a couple of weeks because of this crud. It forced me to reschedule some interviews for my other podcast, Unload and Show Clear, including one with our own Sergeant Bill Sylvia. That episode is coming sometime in March. We finally did get to do the interview, and I'll let you know when that airs, and I'll share a link to that as well for fans of the show. It's always fun visiting with Sergeant Bill. Now, before we get going, I want to remind everybody that Armed Lutheran Radio is listener-funded, and that means that we rely on the support of our listeners to make this show happen, people like you. We're not professional podcasters. We have full-time jobs, so the time that we spend on the show is in our spare time, and the cost to provide the show is not zero. There's hosting, there's equipment maintenance and repair or replacement, there's licenses and websites and domains and all that stuff, and all of that takes money. And we're going on our 4th year, and we would like to invite you to be a part of that by joining the Reformation Gun Club. For as little as $1 a month, you can be a part of helping us to continue this mission. For $2 a month or more, you get some cool Armed Lutheran swag, you get access to lots of exclusive content, and I try to put out something new for members of the gun club every Tuesday, at least one audio clip, if not sometimes up to 3, usually about an hour's worth of content I provide every week on Tuesdays. And I want to take a minute real quick to thank our gun club members, people like Brian Potratz and John Nielsen and Dave Hagenauer and Jackie Russo, Gordy Lewis, Jim Martin have been with us for a very long time, and I really do appreciate your support. Frank Abney, Ed Furman, John Tonemacher is one of our newest members. Calroy, Mark Landeweer is another of our newest members. Sam Williams, Lee Poppy is our newest member. Welcome, Lee. I appreciate your support. Tyler Cruz and Pastor Bennett is even a member of the Reformation Gun Club, along with Lucas Apps from Triangle Tactical. So thank you all for your support. I really do appreciate it. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it and what it means to us in trying to keep this thing going. And I hope you, if you're not a member yet, I hope you'll consider joining them. Just check it out at armedlutheran.us/gun club. There'll be a link in the show notes for that. Like I said, I put out exclusive content for the gun club every week, and I'll have a link in the show notes for this episode. I try to include it in every episode, but check out the show notes for today's show, armedlutheran.us/156. Now, this week we got another of our variety show episodes. Today's show sounds very much like all of the episodes that we've released, or the vast majority of the episodes we've released over the last 3 years, where we have segments contributed from our very talented and exceptional staff. Sergeant Bill Sylvia is with us with another Ballistic Minute competitive shooting tip. Pastor John Bennett from St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota, is with us again. He has his third installment of his very new segment called Pastoral Pontifications. And Mia Anstein is kicking us off today with a segment. She's just back from the 2019 SHOT Show in Las Vegas, and she's got a report on some really cool new shotguns that she saw there. So stick around, folks. You're going to enjoy today's show, and that gets started right after this.
You can help support Armed Lutheran Radio just by listening to the show. Go to armedlutheran.us/radio and download the Radio Public app and start listening.
I want to take a minute here to thank our partner, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you're involved in a situation where you have to use your firearm in self-defense, you very well may find yourself in a legal battle against overzealous prosecutors or the families of the criminal who you shot or threatened, who are looking to deprive you of your freedom or your hard-earned savings. You may find yourself charged with a crime or facing a civil lawsuit even if you did nothing wrong. That's where Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network comes in. For a small yearly fee, they will provide you with money for attorneys, money for bail, consultations, and access to experts like Marty Hayes and Masad Ayub. Don't face the fight alone. Visit Armed Citizens Network today. Use the promo code ARMEDLutheran-25. Save $25 off your first year's membership, or you can grab the coupon on my website, armedlutheran.us. Sign up today. They will send you lots of cool resources, 8 instructional DVDs, and a book by Masad Ayub that I cannot recommend highly enough. Don't wait until you need their help. Be prepared. Sign up today. Visit armedcitizensnetwork.org.
Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstein.
Hey guys, I am back from a wonderful, successful week at the Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Industry Trade Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. And if any of you have heard of it, it's called the SHOT Show. This is the acronym for that show. It's a industry show that is just amazing. If you ever get a chance to go, I would recommend it. It's not open to the public. It's open to retailers, wholesalers, and to the media. So I spend a lot of time there meeting with my publishers and editors and learning about new products, as well as developing our strategy and content schedule for my writing for the year. So to me, it's really exciting. I get to work on my work. It's a little bit exhausting, and I have a lot of appointments while I'm there, but I always try to make a little bit of time to go and explore and look for new things. And this year I really tried to make it a point to look for unusual things, because it seems like when it comes to firearms, at least, that we all share the same things. So the same brand new SIG, or the same brand new Colt or Glock, or whatever it may be. There's always the hype around the traditional items. And so I try to look for some things that are a little off the beaten path and maybe share some other new items with you. And this year, I went by Charles Daly because last year I stopped and they had a woman's shotgun there. And they sent that to me to review and demo, and it's a wonderful gun. I wanted to tell them thank you and see what else they may have that caught my eye in the booth. And right away, what caught my eye was called the Charles Daly Defense Tactical Triple. Now, I just told you about a women's shotgun, so what do you think a tactical triple could be? It is a triple barrel shotgun. This shotgun, it has 2 side-by-side barrels with another barrel on top of those, and they're all welded together. It is actually a pretty heavy shotgun at 27 inches long and then 3 barrels. This one was a 12 gauge. It was pretty bulky to carry, but if you're using that for home defense, you probably wouldn't be carrying it around in the field hunting all day, so it would be okay. That one, it doesn't come with chokes. It has smooth bore since it's for home defense. It is available also in a 410, so that would reduce the weight a little bit. The 12 gauge that I checked out there, it retails at $1,299, so $1,299. And it's definitely a good gun because you're not going to have the options of maybe with a pump action if you're in a defense situation and you forget to cycle it the whole way and have a jam, or a semi-auto that maybe jams. So you wouldn't have that problem with the brake action, and you would still have 3 shots. Pretty cool, interesting, very unique. That kind of stuff just really catches my eye. Another thing that we found, a little on the lighter side, but definitely an eye catcher, was a engraved firearm. This one we found at Taylor's & Company. The message from Taylor & Company, they have a motto, and it is keeping the legend alive. They really cater to the sporting and hunting enthusiasts, and they also bring back the living of a Western heritage lifestyle, which really attracts me since I live out west and live on a ranch, and I really have a fascination with old guns and revolvers and lever actions. But this one, it's another break action. It is called the Huntress, and the Huntress is a 28 gauge break action. It has a walnut stock and a white engraved receiver. It was really just beautiful to look at, a super sleek design. What I really caught my attention was the story. We asked them, well, what's the story behind this gun? And how the story goes is that way back in the day, husbands and wives would go hunting together, which I love because I know that my grandmother used to hunt, and I know that on my in-laws' side, the grandma used to hunt rabbits and bring home dinner. So ladies have hunted in the past. It's not just a brand new thing, even though that segment of the population is growing, which is wonderful. Well, and this gun was designed because the husband would have to carry both shotguns because the shotguns were so heavy back in the day. So he would be carrying his shotgun and hers, and then when they'd come up on a covey of birds, he would have to get her gun, and hopefully they could get a shot off before the birds busted. So they came up with this reduced size gun for a lady so that she would be able to carry her own and get ready and shoulder and prepare for a shot before the birds disappeared. It led to a lot more success in the field. So what a fun story. The gun itself, how it's designed for a woman, and I always have to ask because it's not just a shrunken down gun, but it has a little bit of a raised comb. It has a reduced grip so that a smaller hand could fit around that and still reach the trigger without pulling the shot off target. And it also has a shortened stock, so the butt is reduced and has a butt pad on the end. So it definitely makes it more comfortable and is designed for a woman. This Huntress shotgun will be available in March, and it will retail at $1,795. So $1,795, which I would say is on a higher end of a price for a woman's shotgun, but it also comes with that legacy style heritage. It's an Old West gun. Definitely the engraving is just gorgeous. So that's something to look at. Hope that you found those a little bit intriguing, and you can check them out online. The first one is a Charles Daly, the second one, Taylor's & Company. I will definitely share some other items with you in future episodes. Until then, have a great one. Bye, guys.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstein.com.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
It's time for Pastoral Pontifications with Pastor John Bennett.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are the words that begin the Declaration of Independence. And this is why the pro-life movement calls their fight for the lives of the unborn the right to life. A right that since Roe v. Wade has been denied to 60 million unborn precious children in this country alone. On January 18th, 500,000 people of faith marched on Washington, D.C. to make their voices heard, to speak up for the most vulnerable among us, those who can't speak for themselves. 500,000 people spoke out in righteous anger at the slaughter of those 60 million victims whose precious lives were snuffed out in the name of choice. On the left, however, a different kind of march was held. In D.C., on the day after the March for Life, roughly 100,000 gathered to participate in the Women's March, an event where participants, nearly entirely women, marched for the continued legality to murder their own children before they've even seen the light of day. What a stark contrast between life and death. What's so ironic about all of this is that the left can't even see what they've become. They've become the party of death. Days after the March for Life, the New York State Assembly passed a bill by a 92-47 majority, a bill which permits the murder of the unborn up until minutes before birth. The practice of abortion is itself heinous, even early-term procedures. But with this bill, a fully developed child, capable of breathing, capable of eating, capable of crying, capable of bringing joy and meaning into the lives of people who would give anything to have a child of their own. These precious babes can have their lives extinguished now by injecting poison directly into their hearts while they are yet in the womb. This can happen just minutes before birth. The footage of the State Assembly in New York cheering and celebrating with the passage of this bill was akin to the evil cackling of demons who no doubt cheered at the crucifixion when Jesus bowed his head in death. In celebration, the despicable Governor Cuomo ordered the World Trade Center lit up in pink. It would have been more appropriate to light it up in crimson in the blood that will be shed because of this bill. The state of Virginia had pushed for a similar bill which would have permitted the murder of a baby while the mother's dilated and in the process of delivering her child. Fortunately, that bill was stopped, but make no mistake, there are evil people in this world pushing for the right to kill the most precious among us, with some having as their end goal the permissible murder of those who have already been born. Perhaps I was naive. If you had asked me 20 years ago, I would have thought I'd never see the day when people would celebrate in the murder of the unborn, including fully developed, healthy, beautiful babies just waiting to be born. But through all of this incredible, unbelievable evil, something is happening. Even among some liberals who have supported a woman's quote-unquote right to choose, again, to kill her unborn child, even some who consider themselves pro-choice are decrying these efforts to legalize the murder of babies moments before birth. These evil efforts by proponents of the legalized murder of the unborn is finally showing their true colors, and they're forcing people to make a choice between life or death. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's only natural that as supporters of the Second Amendment, which we see as a right that permits us to protect the lives of ourselves and our loved ones against anyone seeking our harm, that we are also supporters of the right to life for the unborn. While we continue to champion our right to keep and bear arms, let us never forget that we must also stand for the rights of those yet born. Imagine for a moment an attack, be it biological, nuclear, or whatever, or an attack that wiped out 20% of our country's population. Would not those who survived fight with every fiber of their being to make sure something like this never happened again? And yet, that's exactly what abortion has done. It has resulted in the death of roughly 20% of today's population in the last 46 years. May we do all that we can to ensure that as we fight for our natural right of self-defense, we also fight for the most vulnerable among us, those precious ones who have no voice of their own. Let us raise our voices on their behalf, both in the public square and privately in our daily prayers, that the lives of all be precious in the eyes of all.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org. Time now for another Ballistic Minute with Sergeant Bill Sylvia.
I'm Sergeant Bill, and this is your Ballistic Minute. So today I want to talk about steel targets. You know, the old adage of aim small, miss small kind of really works with steel targets. So I've seen a lot of people at matches, whether they're sanctioned IDPA matches, club matches, even USPSA matches, they tend to just aim for the white target. What you really need to do is aim for a specific spot. If you're aiming just for white, when you see the front sight get on the white painted target, people just start slapping at the trigger, and they don't understand why they miss steel and why they're having problems with it. Because they're not aiming to a specific spot. So they're not aiming like they would for a cardboard target, even though they probably think they are, but they're not. One of the things I've tried to do is I aim higher on falling or flopping steel. It gives you a better chance to knock it down, even if you're shooting 9mm or 45 or whatever it may be, because you'll have more force behind the bullet just because of the way the physics of it work. You hit it higher on the lever action of the steel as it falls over or knocks down, will have more force hitting it further out on that lever. And if you tend to pull down or milk the grip, squeeze all your fingers in of your shooting hand, your firing hand, while you're pulling the trigger, you'll pull your shots low, which is very common. And you hit steel low, if it's like a popper or a mini pepper popper, they tend not to fall if you hit them low. So aim a little bit higher on your targets and to a specific spot in the middle of your target. If you're shooting a series of steel, like a plate rack or 3 or more poppers, do not speed up as you go. Most people will start shooting like a plate rack, and they'll hit the first one, they'll get it. They hit the second one, they'll get it. And then they'll shoot faster at the third one. And they might get it, and then they shoot faster at the fourth one, or maybe the fifth one, and they miss. And then they go back and try to shoot it really fast, and they end up going to war with that one steel target because they sped up as they went. It's very common to see shooters get confident like this and then speed up, only to miss on the next to last or last target on a plate rack or a series of 3 or more targets, and then they end up going to war. And in IDPA, you shoot multiple extra rounds at a steel target that will tend to mess up your entire stage plan. Now, another misconception, people want to practice with steel targets instead of cardboard or paper because you don't have to paste and it's just a lot easier. And you can hear the report of the steel, and it's fun. I get it. It's fun. I like shooting steel, and you hear it after you shoot it, but it gives you an illusion of accuracy, and it actually makes you a little bit slower. So instead of calling your shots, you're listening for the report, the ring of the steel, when most of the time you could move on and not wait for the steel. Just call your shot and move on. If you're shooting on steel all the time in practice, it's going to fool you. Now, that same fooling you illusion of accuracy, when you're shooting steel, even if it's a rectangular target or a smaller target size, like a IDPA target, humanoid target style piece of steel, if it rings, you'll call accuracy good, but that doesn't mean you're hitting where you want to be hitting. In any of the shooting sports, IDPA, USPSA, IPSC, they all have scoring zones. And if you're just hitting on the outside, you're not scoring very well. So you want to blend that speed and accuracy. So don't practice with steel only. It's a lot easier. It's a lot less cleanup or whatever, or not pasting targets, but it's going to give you problems in the long run. Now, if you don't have a club that shoots a steel match or an outlaw-style steel match, like my home club does, you should probably practice on some steel, because I know for me, for a long time, the mini pepper popper just seemed so small. It was a very daunting target because it's very easy to miss it. So if you have a range that has some steel, I'm not saying don't practice on it, I'm saying the opposite. Do practice with it, get comfortable with it, shoot some plate racks if you can, get comfortable with them so it's not such a daunting thing when it comes up in a match. But don't rely on just shooting steel. Get practice, get confident at it, and then move on to something else that needs work. Now you can get dry fire targets that resemble steel targets if you can't practice outdoors because of the weather or whatever it may be, or you just need to practice on them. And it'll help you get more comfortable shooting at steel targets, aiming at them, and actually aiming where you need to instead of just getting the front sight on the white target and pulling the trigger. So get out there and practice. I'm Sergeant Bill. This has been your Ballistic Minute.
Sergeant Bill Sylvia is a veteran of the Dallas Police Force and a masterclass competitive shooter. You can check out his YouTube videos at armedlutheran.us/Sergeant Bill. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio.